So hi, everybody. Just a reminder, this is a recorded presentation here. We have Kera Magrill from Washington County, who's going to talk to us today about all of some different options that are available during COVID. And Kera, I'll let you give a little bit more of a deeper introduction about yourself. But welcome, everybody. Just a reminder, you're welcome to put your questions into the chat while she's presenting, and then we'll talk a little bit more after your presentation. So thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for those who are here to listen in.
Thank you so much, Carly, and thanks for Megan and the BCOA for the invitation to come and present to you all today. My name is Kera. I'm an older adult behavioral health specialist with Washington County Disability, Aging, and Veterans Services. And today we're going to talk about taking care of our mental health, mental well-being, while we are riding out this pandemic. So we actually have another presentation that goes into more depth on kind of a pandemic FAQ, and staying safe, keeping your body safe and protected from viruses. So if anyone's interested in that at another time, we'd be happy to come back and have our public health team talk about that. But for today, we're going to focus on just keeping our keeping well while we are following physical distancing guidelines during this pandemic. So I have really just a list of tips for you today, and then I'm going to follow each tip with some resources. It's going to be too many resources, so it's a lot. So I'll make sure that the BCOA and Carly get a copy of these slides so you don't have to feel like you have to write everything down. Also, at the bottom of every slide, you'll see the number for the ADRC, Aging and Disability Resource Connection, and the website. So if any of these resources, if you want to learn more, or you can't remember the number to get in touch with any specific resource, really your one-stop shop for everything that I'm going to talk about today is that ADRC number. They have all the information on these resources, plus a lot more for older adults and people with disabilities. So if you haven't already, please take advantage of that. So let's get started. The most important, our first tip here is really staying connected. And this is just one of the most important tips that I can offer you. And it's probably already at the front of your mind, especially with holidays coming up and rethinking what that might look like, what gatherings might look like, traditions. Those kinds of things are going to look different this year, and we might have lots of different feelings about what that is going to be. Most important thing we need to know about loneliness and isolation is that they are different. They're two different things. They don't necessarily go hand in hand. So just because we are isolated, physically isolated from other people, doesn't necessarily mean that we're lonely. And on the opposite side of the coin, even if we were around a lot of people, which pre-pandemic, a lot of people might have lived with other people, had other people in their house, or maybe lived in a senior care community, are around lots of people every day, it doesn't mean that they are not feeling lonely. So they're different, they're related, but they're different. So what that means basically for us, the hopeful way of looking at it is that we can still work on feeling connected to others to overcome those feelings of loneliness, even while we are physically isolated from people for now. Loneliness is what we really want to watch out for, as opposed to isolation. You can see here, loneliness is harmful to your health. It can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes per day. That's the equivalent health impact that loneliness has. And as I already mentioned, proximity doesn't necessarily equal connection. So the difference is finding meaningful connections, meaningful interactions is going to be more important than being physically close to each other. Even though we're missing hugs and we're missing, all those sensory connections of being with other people, there's still other ways that we can work to achieve that feeling of connection, even from a distance. So we need regular and meaningful connection with friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, other community members. So how do we do that during the pandemic? Well, we know that to stay safe and to keep our communities safe, we need to reduce the number of contacts that we have in person. We need to reduce frequency of meeting with people, and we need to reduce the amount of time that we're spending with people. And especially now during these next 2 weeks, according to the governor's orders, is really to make a really strong effort to significantly reduce those in-person interactions. But we can still call as often and as freely as we want. We can write. I really love postcards. I'm getting my Thanksgiving postcards ready right now. I've been really just putting a lot of myself into writing postcards and sending notes to people. And it's so fun to get things in the mail that isn't a bill or an advertisement. So keep writing, keep Zooming. If you haven't, everyone today is joining from your Zoom account. But if you haven't tried hosting your own Zoom meeting, you can actually do that for free. So you can have a free account on Zoom and host your own Zoom conference call up to 45 minutes for free. So you might want to try hosting a get together during the holidays, or maybe hosting a game night, something like that. Send texts. Try group texting to feel like you're in community with folks. So you can, even if you're not, in an active conversation, you're still included to see what's going on and what maybe little jokes or recipes or anything that you want to share throughout your day. And then of course, wave and smile at your neighbors, even if you're wearing a mask, which I hope you are. But we can still be friendly from a distance and smile and do things outdoors, especially when we get a break from that rain. So if you need help, or if you know someone that might need help technology-wise, if you have a device and you need some support on how to use it, or maybe you or someone you know doesn't have a device, isn't able to get on Zoom, doesn't have a smartphone or a tablet, call the ADRC, that number at the bottom. We have support for individuals, older adults in Washington County to get you connected, and it's for free. We have a big grant that we were awarded to be able to provide older adults with computers, tablets, and training and support. So if you are an individual that is in need of those resources, please call. This is a brand new program that we just launched within the last couple of days. And we just want to get all those resources out to the community as while we have them. So please feel free to call and take advantage of that. A little bit more about staying connected. If you are finding yourself needing connection or support beyond your natural systems of support, there are a few resources out there for you, and these are all free. Oregon Senior Peer Outreach matches older adults in Washington County with each other. So you would be matched with a trained senior peer specialist who would call you once weekly to provide just support and just conversation and just emotional support. So free service for older adults in the county. There's also the Senior Loneliness Line. If you haven't heard of this, this is actually a statewide line. You can call it 24/7. It's a warm line, so you call in anytime and there are trained staff and volunteers that are there to talk to anytime, day or night. If you are interested in writing, we have Washington County Writes, which sends letters and postcards to isolated older adults. So if you would like to volunteer and help us write to others, we can always use more letters, and we've had people send artwork, just friendly conversations that you can write. You can get involved in Washington County Writes. If you are a caregiver, if you're providing care for someone, it doesn't have to be someone in your house. It could be someone that's in a care community or someone that you're providing care to remotely. You can sign up for support by text. So we'll send you a supportive weekly text message with ideas, support on how to provide care. There's lots of other ways to get connected. I can't even begin to list them all, but there's online groups that you can join. If you haven't tried meetup.com, it's a great resource for an online community. You can find different interests, things that you're interested in, book clubs, discussion groups, ways to volunteer, yeah, and like I said, I mentioned before, if you are going to be meeting in person with people, again, it's not recommended, especially for these next 2 weeks, but even after the 2 weeks are over, if that doesn't end up being extended, make sure that you are practicing all of your physical safety guidelines, wearing a mask, staying at least 6 feet apart, meeting outside when possible. But the safest thing to do, especially when you kind of assess your own risk and the risk that you might put others in, is to just try and do one of those remote options as much as possible while we get through this wave of the pandemic.
Kara, there's a question coming in around to getting technical support if a person needs to live in Washington County. I'm not totally sure which part of technical support we were talking about, but it's that aspect there.
Yeah, sorry, Carly, did you say if they don't live in Washington County?
Do they need to live in Washington County to get the tech support?
So to get, yeah. So what I mentioned, to get the free support, get the free devices, or not really free, but paid for through the grant, you would have to be an older adult, so 55 plus, or somebody living with a disability in Washington County. If you are joining us today, or you know someone outside of Washington County that needs that type of support, I'd still call that 800 number that you see at the bottom. That ADRC number will connect you to your local office. So if you're in Washington County, it will send you to us, and we can help you get set up with those devices and get you other kinds of technical support. But if you're outside of the county, call that number, and your local office might have resources available. I'm not sure what it looks like across county lines, but everyone's kind of a patchwork quilt of different resources and support that they can provide. So I still call, because you never know. So I can't speak specifically, but more likely than not, they will have something to be able to help you.
Thanks, Kara.
Okay, tip number 2, keep a daily routine. So this is just a good practice to take care of our mental health. Routine helps give us a sense of structure and predictability during times of uncertainty and change. So as much as you can, work on what that routine is for you. Here are some tips. You can keep awake and a sleep schedule. So try to avoid staying up too late into the night. Have a bedtime for yourself, and have a wake time instead of sleeping in. Doesn't matter if it's a Monday or if it's a Saturday. Try to just keep that same routine. Your body will thank you for it. Other things you can do is make sure you're preparing meals. Maybe sometimes when we retire, we don't always eat 3 set meals a day. Maybe you have 2 larger meals. So whatever that is, just build it into your routine and make the meal preparation part of the activity that goes into that routine. And then find other activities that you enjoy that you can do throughout the day. I have a link here for daily printable activities and puzzles. There's crosswords, there's trivia. There's lots of fun stuff there. And actually, I told you I've been sending a lot of mail. I'll print those out and I'll send them to family and friends, things that I think they'll enjoy. Somebody I know really likes Sudoku, and I'll send fun trivia to someone else. So it's just kind of part of my routine now to be thinking of other things that I like to send people and keep them connected and engaged. And then we can talk about it later. Other things that you can do to find activities. Your senior center is going to be a great resource. I'm going to talk to you more about some senior center activities that are coming up. I know we're being hosted by the Beaverton Committee on Aging, and our closest senior center here is the Elsie Store Center, and they are going to be closed probably till the middle of next year. But there's other senior centers that are really active and providing a lot of remote and online programming. Our museum, did you know that Washington County has a museum? The Five Oaks Museum is providing free virtual tours for older adults. So that would be a great place to get connected and try something new, especially if you have a group that you'd like to host an activity for. And then there's other at-home activities you can do. Other tips on keeping a routine: don't have a huge task list of things that you want to do. This is a time to slow down. Don't, think I'm going to learn 10 new different things during this time, or I'm going to finally get around to doing whatever it is. Slow down. Let the mundaneness and the chores of the day-to-day be an activity. Try to find new joy in those little things, and try to become a master of your time. So the time you have, maybe you want to really perfect a soup recipe that you've really been working on, or maybe you have some old knitting needles that could use some dusting off, and you want to keep your fingers busy in that way. So think of ways to master something small, and not necessarily learning anything new, but just working on something that brings you joy and just kind of diving deep into it, and then building that into your routine. From this time to this time, you're going to be doing this activity. Number 3, take time to unwind. So this is all about not doing the activity, right? So breathing, stretching, and just give yourself a break. This is going to be the best way to recharge your system. I know sometimes, when in this pandemic, we might feel like, gosh, am I doing anything? Am I being productive? And that's okay. We give yourself, your body and your brain a break from the need to be productive. There's lots of resources. Here's one: positivepsychology.com gives you mindfulness meditation ideas, activities. There's lots of videos on YouTube. You could even get on meetup.com and find a meditation group. Whatever, or maybe it's not formal meditation. Maybe it's just going for a walk unplugged. Maybe it is reading a book for you. Maybe it's just sitting and enjoying nature. If it's a nice day, getting some fresh air. If not, just kind of observing nature out your window. So there's lots of ways to unwind, whatever it is for you. Maybe it's listening to music. Find out what that is for you, and put it into your routine as your unwind time. Lots of other ways you can unwind is exercise your creativity. Washington County residents can call the Hillsborough Senior Center, and anyone in Washington County, older adult, can call that number and request a free art by mail kit that is provided free of charge from the county. So you can see an example there. There's a little cross stitch example of one of the kits. There's painting kit, there's adult coloring, There's a little mini garden kit. So feel free to request one of those if you just want to try something new and get, again, another fun thing in the mail that you can do at home. Or another fun way to use those that I've heard of other people doing is they'll kind of send it to a friend they know, kind of as a like art by mail gram, which is a fun way to use that program too. So feel free to call that, or get creative in your own way at home, whatever it is that will help you unwind. Here are some more ideas on how to get creative. This is just a list that I pulled from the Juanita Pohl Center. These are all virtual classes that you can do, and most of these are free to participate in. So there's music, there's storytelling, there's art classes. This is just a small sampling of some classes that are coming up. We have 7 senior centers in the county that, and there's, not all of them are providing virtual programming during the pandemic, but a lot are. So this is just one example. Like I said, Hillsborough Senior Center is doing programming. The Walters Center for the Arts is doing programming. Sherwood Senior Center. So look up your local senior center, or take advantage of how everything is virtual now, and maybe try looking outside the box, outside of your geographic area, and find some other resources and ideas for programs that you find interesting. Okay, tip number 4, big important tip, is to move your body. Physical activity is one of the best natural treatments and prevention strategies against depression and anxiety. And we really have a lot working against us this winter. It is cold. It is rainy, it's wet, it's hard to get outside. It's getting darker every day. So we're having less natural sunlight. We're in the pandemic. There's a lot working against us right now. So just moving your body, physical activity, building that into your routine is really going to help your brain and body to fight off that depression and anxiety. The other issue is that depression and anxiety, because of the way that they act as a disease process, actually gets in the way of our ability to exercise and our ability to be motivated. So when you feel like, I don't want to get up, or I don't want to do my crunches or do my squats, or I don't want to go for a walk, when your brain starts giving you that kind of negative self-talk about moving, that's when you know you really need it the most. So when you start to feel kind of really not that motivated to do it, just do it. It's already going to start to make you feel better if you just get out and do it. But it doesn't mean you need to start a new strenuous routine. Actually, not recommended that you do. We just want you to start slow, put it into your routine, and kind of fake it until you feel it. So I grew up in Colorado, which is really dry. So I don't mind the rain that much. And I actually kind of enjoy walking in the rain. But now that I've been in Oregon a few years, I really try to take advantage of those moments in the wintertime where we have a break from rain. Like, oh, here's a natural moment. I gotta get outside because it stopped raining. So take advantage of the spontaneity that just your environment can create for you, and have fun with it. And like I said, it's so important to just move a little bit every day, whatever that means for you, whatever is in your comfort zone, but moving a little bit every day. If you're really motivated to take a class, again, I've got the Juanita Pohl Center up here as an example. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m., there are free fitness classes. There's a dance Zumba class on Mondays, there's yoga on Wednesdays, and there's Tai Chi on Fridays. So free classes, anybody can join by Zoom. It's taught by a live instructor. You could find out more at that link or going to the Juanita Pulse Center, but there's lots of other rec centers and senior centers that are offering classes too. If you are walking outdoors, we have some recommendations. Of course, keep that 6-foot distance from others, more if you can do it. We recommend that you walk in your neighborhood. So I know it's really tempting as Oregonians. There's so many, especially in this area, there's so many beautiful trails and nature parks that I'm missing that I want to get to. But of course, if everybody goes to the nature park or the trail, then we're going to deal with situations where it's going to start to get crowded. So just stay in your own neighborhood and just discover what's around your own neighborhood. And for me, I've been walking my blocks for the past 8 months, and there's always something new to see. There's a new little slug that's crossing the sidewalk, or there's a neighbor that I hadn't noticed before, or just a myriad of different things. So rediscover your own neighborhood and try to stay local and just enjoy that new discovery. Wear a face covering. Of course, if you're in public spaces, if you can't maintain that 6-foot distance, if you are in a situation where you could wear that face covering, if you're taking a walk outdoors, then I'd say it's probably just good practice to just keep it on all the time outdoors for now. But if it's really not comfortable, then as long as you're maintaining that 6-foot distance and you're not going to be passing other people, then it's okay if you don't have it. But if you can tolerate it for your entire walk, then that feels comfortable for you, then it's recommended that you just keep it on as much as possible. Plus, you know what I've noticed, maybe you have too, now that it's getting chilly outside, it actually keeps my face nice and warm. There's another little bonus. And then of course, if you're walking outdoors, smile and wave at your neighbors. Maybe you'll meet someone new or start to have some familiar faces that you hadn't noticed before. Tip number 5, eat healthy foods. This is challenging because, as we know, the grocery store presents some new challenges for us, especially if we're at higher risk categories. So if you are in a place where you need access to food or you need help getting food delivered, things like that, I'm going to recommend that you call that ADRC number again. But just in general, thinking about the foods that you're eating, try to get fresh food, a variety of fresh food every day. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water, staying hydrated. Limit your salt and sugar, and that includes alcohol, and limit processed foods. So hopefully a lot of people during the pandemic have been doing a lot more home cooking, which is so great because it's not really in our food culture to do that. We were kind of getting into fast food and processed food as a routine as Americans. But kind of if you're thinking about this pandemic as an opportunity to really, do a deep dive into your own home cooking, especially with the holidays coming up, do those kinds of things, build that into your routine, and then enjoy the foods that you make, nice, healthy foods. Here's that number again. If you need help with grocery delivery, Meals on Wheels, or food donations, anything where you or someone you know needs support for food, please give us a call and we can help talk through some options that might be right for you. Okay, number 6, turn off the news. So out of all the tips that I give you, this is the tip that I need to follow my own advice because I have a news addiction problem just personally, and I can feel these things happening. So this is such a good reminder for me that really turning off the media is really helpful. And here's why. Here's some signs that media consumption might be affecting your health. If you feel strong emotions when you're watching something, right after you're watching, thinking about watching something, or if you feel physically ill or nervous, if it's affecting your sleep or wake schedule or other routines or getting in the way of other things that you want to do. So staying up late, watching things, or it's the first thing you have to do right when you wake up is check the news, that might be a sign. If you don't have an unplugged period, so if you're constantly on the computer or constantly on the phone or have the TV on in the background all the time, that's a lot of information to process. And I know, especially with the pandemic and with recent events, it feels like things change so quickly, but that really adds to our anxiety. So just set an unplugged time for yourself. Maybe it is when you start making dinner until after the meal is over, or maybe first thing in the morning, you're going to do your meditation and you'll be totally unplugged before you check your phone. So just build it into your routine, that unplugged period where you're not being bombarded with messaging. If you consume more than 2 hours a day, that's kind of the general rule of thumb. So kind of maybe take your own inventory of how much you're consuming. And if it's quite a bit more than 2 hours a day, maybe reconsider what are some other things that you'd like to do with your day. If you feel signs of screen fatigue or eye strain just from looking at a screen, so if you feel your eyes are straining or you're blinking or rubbing your eyes, or they feel dry, or feel like you get vertigo or a headache, then that might be a sign that's too much screen time. And then of course, if it's having an effect on your relationships, and thinking about, spending time with family in the next couple weeks, even virtually, how do we want those conversations to go, especially if we're going to be around people that maybe don't agree with us fully? That might be a sign that the news is really affecting your health. And because so much of it is largely out of our control, it's really great to just turn things off because it doesn't do anything for us as individuals to just feel anxiety. So I already recommended to set limits on media and information. If you are interested in reliable information, especially involving the pandemic, and especially new restrictions or changes and guidelines, you can visit that website. That's the Oregon website where COVID information is updated. You can also call 211. So just know where you're getting your news. I know that Corinne Hanning did a really wonderful presentation last week on Scamdemic, and she has really great tips from Corinne from Elder Safe on getting reliable information in a healthy way. And my last tip for you today is keep things in perspective. Give yourself and others grace and space to take this one day at a time. Notice in your body where you start to feel either tired, or maybe you feel stress, and notice what those triggers are for you, and just try to go back to centering yourself and give a lot of space and a lot of grace. That is the gift that you can give this holiday season, is give that to others. When you are at the grocery store and you see someone who's not wearing a mask, and you start to get that, I'm starting to get upset that I'm seeing that happening and I want to be confrontational. Just remember, the gift that you can give and that you have control over is to give grace, and just know that we don't know everyone's situation, and we're just going to give lots of grace and space. So that can be your mantra. Remember that this is a challenging time for everyone. Everyone is experiencing this challenging time and experiencing it in a different way, but it will pass. And there are a lot of people that are out there to help you in the meantime. We're out there for you. And there's some formal providers of help and support. There's free COVID-19 counseling by phone. You can call the ADRC number below for free COVID-19 counseling. It's provided with Washington County Behavioral Health. So you can call our number directly there or send an email. And it's really just for people that are interested in some counseling, if they're especially struggling with any issue that's related to the pandemic. There's also this 800 number from Lines for Life. It's the Safe and Strong Helpline. This is available throughout for everyone in Oregon can take advantage of this helpline. It's a 24/7 call-in line. So you don't need an appointment or anything. You just call in. It's a warm line. And again, if you are experiencing any emotional distress or other challenges that are related to anything that's been going on recently, the pandemic, wildfires, the elections, you can call and get emotional support from the Safe and Strong Helpline, that it's free. There are some other ways that sometimes help people reduce their own anxiety is to help other people. So if you're interested in getting trained on some ways that you can do that, we have free classes available to anyone in the community. QPR is suicide prevention training. We have mental health first aid, psychological first aid for community emergencies and disasters. And then we have a communication training program for asking beautiful questions. So it's really just about healthy conversations. So if you're interested in any of these trainings, they're all free. You can send us an email and we'll be happy to work with you on getting those scheduled. Some of these are offered regularly throughout the community, or some that you can take on your own. And so just let us know if you're interested or if you have a group that's interested, and we'd be happy to work with you on that. So my last thing I'm going to leave you with today is we've got the 4 counties in our local area are crisis lines. I know I've been giving you a lot of numbers today, but crisis line is something I have plugged into my phone. So if anyone is having a mental health crisis, they can call their local crisis line, or you can call this line if you're trying to get support for someone else that might be in having a mental health crisis or just be in emotional distress. Like I said, I recommend putting these into your phone. Then they're handy when you need them, especially for the county that you live in or spend a lot of time in. And it's just a really good resource to have. Other than that, the ADRC number that's listed at the bottom will help you get connected to any of our other resources that we talked about today. So I think that's going to be it for me. If anyone has comments or questions, or would love to hear about some of the things that you're doing that you found helpful to take care of your own mental health, I think we could probably stop recording, Carly,
Great.
And we can just open it up for discussion.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Kara. I'm going to go ahead and pause us there, and then we'll get into some Q&A. Thanks.